We're back on Morning Trade Live. Let's focus on AMD ahead of this afternoon's earnings report. More on that in just a little while. But look at the performance over the last year for this stock compared to, say, Nvidia and Broadcom, all three companies making solid moves higher. But AMD is the clear outperformer, up nearly 120% year over year. So the big question is, can it keep it up? We're going to be getting a little bit more of an update later. AMD is the focus of the morning trade. So joining us now is Marley. Very good morning to you. So what are these streets' expectations going into this? You could say the bar is pretty high on this one.
Pretty high might be an underestimation, Sam. The bar is very high on this one, and pretty much across the board unanimously expecting whatever the results will be a catalyst in some direction or another, likely not going to see a tepid reaction to AMD's results. As far as the expectations, they report after the close today. EPS looking to come in about $1.32. That would be a 21% increase year over year. Last quarter, they were at $1.20, so also an acceleration of EPS growth from the previous quarter as well. For fourth quarter revenue, looking for $9.67 billion. That would be more than 25% higher than the year ago quarter. Last quarter, it was 9.25, so also seeing growth there as well. That data center revenue number, I heard you talking to Joe Mazzola about that being a very important metric. It certainly will be. That's expected to come in just under $5 billion. That would be up almost 30% year over year. It's expected to be more than $1 billion higher, in fact. And the chip designers gaming business projected to see revenues of $855 million. That's not one of their largest segments, but that would mark a more than 50% year over year increase. But AMD, like Intel and some of these other chip names, is contending with this global memory shortage that we keep talking about. Could force PC makers to raise prices on laptops and desktops. That could impact sales, could hit AMD's consumer chip business. So some things to look out for. Investor focus right now on that data center revenue number. Any commentary on cloud and AI demand, pricing trends, supply as a driver of near-term performance, as well as this competition picks up in AI, any updates on the production timelines for their chips, especially anything that they revealed at CES. Remember, Lisa Su took the stage and debuted their Helios rack system and several of their new chips, what they say are more powerful than anything out there. So any updates on production timelines or customer engagement, I think, will be really important here. Also, any updates on their China business, because they've excluded any of the numbers from their China business in any of their outlook going forward because of the uncertainty there. So any updates there likely will be important. But as far as looking at the stock, I mean, AMD is up more than 100% in the last 12 months, obviously widely outperforming the broader market. And despite these consistent fears of an AI bubble that we talk about and overspending, as you highlighted before we started talking, AMD and Nvidia significantly higher over the last 12 months. So, they seem to be bucking some of those fears. But as we have seen with some of the earnings reports that we've gotten so far in this AI space, divergent reactions depending on the results. Particularly Microsoft and Meta come to mind here, but will be interesting to see what the numbers are, how they come in, and then what the reaction is, even if they are great.
Yeah, exactly. You raise such an interesting point because, I mean, the divergence that you speak of has been so evident, but also we've just learned that things don't move in tandem or in lockstep. I mean, look at Palantir v. the rest of the software space today. Let's see if AMD manages to be a tone changer, particularly off the back of the sell-off we're seeing right now. Marley, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for that. Let's trade it now with Tim Biggam, options strategist over at Pilot AI. Good morning, Tim. How are you approaching your example trade for AMD?
Good morning, Sam. And taking a look at a stock, as you were talking about, that has been a recent big performer, but before that was kind of a big underperformer. So playing a little bit catch up with some of its peers like Nvidia and the like here. But I'm really looking for probably a decent earnings report. As Joe said in the previous segment, the earnings have been coming in good, not great, which is why we're seeing this market and stocks kind of stall out here. They're priced for kind of really good earnings. So I think AMD might challenge that kind of upper resistance level, that 265 area. Certainly big overhead resistance. Stock did bounce nicely off of 200 a couple times. Kind of a neutral on a technical basis. So I'm just playing slightly bullishly, more capturing vol with a call calendar spread trade going out, selling this week's 265 calls, buying the traditional February 265 calls, paying just a little bit more than $3. More importantly, Sam, selling over 100 IV now, hedging with a mid 60 IV. So big term structure vol edge, options pricing in about an 8% earnings move, which puts you right at that kind of 265 strike price as well. So as you talked about, even if you told me earnings right now, we're not sure what the reaction would be. So I kind of favor maybe a slightly move higher or more of a muted reaction here, more just being able to sell vol this week, and then if needed, be able to hedge vol next week to further bring in premium, reduce the net cost.
You know what, Tim? They say that the traditional symbolism for pineapples, one of those is wealth. So let's see if you bring AMD some good luck today. But I'm just wondering, you know, Marley made a really interesting point about the divergence we've seen off the back of these report cards. I mean, you know, the interesting moves, stocks getting punished on good news and then not getting punished on bad news. I mean, as far as a tone setter, what do you make of this? I mean, you know, when you look at the overall broad market today, could this move the needle? I mean, could this change the narrative? Because it certainly didn't seem to be the case with Palantir. It's just sort of stuck out there rallying on its own.
Yeah, and I think we'll kind of see that as well with AMD, which certainly is a big chip maker, but not one of the biggest out there. So I think it can kind of support, you know, a bullish narrative or kind of support a bearish narrative overall, but it's not going to be the needle mover, certainly like an NVIDIA or even Broadcom might be, or Taiwan Semi on the chip front here. So AMD has, you know, caught up here. I think it'll have further difficulty starting to beat its competitors going forward. So I think the market probably in a muted sort of stance here. We've been in it for a while. It may stay there for a very long while, this trade-off between valuations, right, and interest rates, as you talked about. Now the 10-year poking towards that 4.3%, so that provides a little headwind as well. Might be tough sledding for stocks over the next quarter or so.
Tim, love your work. Thanks so much for joining us today. Really appreciate the insights and the example trade for us today. Tim Biggam there, options strategist at Pilot AI.